If you believe in natural talent more than the human ability to learn and develop, not just skills, but personality traits and perspectives too. In other words, if you're the type to say, I'm just no good at X, so there's really no point in trying, or I'm naturally good at Y, failure is not an option, then you probably have what's known as a fixed mindset. And regardless of whether you're in the I'm awesome or I'm awful category, this could be holding you back in more ways than you've ever realized. My name's Hazel Gale. I'm a former therapist turned author and creator of the mental health game Betwixt. And this is how a fixed mindset can affect your self-confidence and sense of worth, and what you need to do to switch to its positive counterpart, the growth mindset. Someone in a fixed mindset automatically judges themselves against others. They have to do this in order to have a benchmark or definition for talented or good versus not talented or bad. So in order to feel good at something, when we have this outlook, we need to be better than everyone around us, or at least somewhere near the very top. Now that might seem okay if it gets us to the top, but in reality it's a precarious thing. When driven by this need to compete and win, fear of failure ramps right up, and we'll likely end up shying away from the challenges that would actually advance us, even, in fact especially, in the areas we consider ourselves gifted. In fact, the belief in giftedness, or lack thereof, is the engine of the fixed mindset. Of course, child prodigies exist, and this would seem to suggest that some abilities come as part of the original package, but that doesn't mean that all ability is innate. And as Adam Grant explores in his book Originals, even when someone is born with some kind of ready-made genius, they are actually no more likely to change the world than the rest of us. The problem is that if we fall into the trap of believing that all talent is inherent, and that we're either good at something or we're not, then mistakes become a much, much bigger threat than they need to be. This is because any failure threatens to jeopardize our talented status. One slip up in this black and white world and we're no longer the genius we thought we were. Because if we were talented, it should all come easily, right? Better to not risk it at all. Ultimately, talent locks us into a very narrow comfort zone, and everything beyond those limits, new creative ideas, the joys of making something unexpected, following our imagination, or just being playful, all of that stuff is made unavailable to us. To make matters worse, the fixed mindset tends to create an accidental arrogance, because looking down from our fiercely protected spot at the top of the heap, with this mindset, we have an unconscious need to feel superior to those around us in order to experience a sense of worth, which is exactly why we create that situation, albeit unconsciously, in the first place. Of course, that veneer of superiority is eggshell thin, liable to break at any moment, and expose the abundance of shadowy self-doubt that it's designed to hide, and we know it. In other words, to live with a predominantly fixed mindset is a very stressful business indeed. Someone with a growth mindset, though, will feel successful, worthy, and purposeful whenever they're learning. Instead of judging themselves against others, they judge themselves against who they were yesterday or what they were capable of last week. What this essentially means is that failure as a discrete concept doesn't really exist, or at least it doesn't pose so much of a threat, because the harder a task or undertaking is, the more we stand to learn and grow as a result of doing it, even, in fact especially, when we don't do it perfectly. Instead of basing our self-worth on the results we achieve, we get a sense of intrinsic motivation and purpose from challenging and stretching ourselves. I'm not saying that failure will ever be enjoyable necessarily, but with a growth mindset, we will welcome challenges because instant success and recognition are not the ultimate goal. Growth is. And you only get to grow when you're pushing the limits. Needless to say, in the long run, growth-minded people have the potential to go further and grow bigger in pretty much all aspects of their lives. But here's the real kicker. To someone really, really wedded to a fixed mindset, the idea of changing that mindset might seem like an impossibility. I can't tell you how many times I've talked about this with people and seen their shoulders slump as they realized they had a fixed mindset and that meant they must be doomed. If you're doing that right now, then put those shoulders back where they need to be, because you are not doomed. Just like all the best things in life, the growth mindset can be grown. And part of the way to do this is to update the beliefs involved. So before I share the next video in this little series, my challenge for you is to choose just one of these belief pairings. Pick the growth version and then give it some thought. Think about it while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. Chat about it over a beer with a friend. Journal about it if you do that kind of thing. Just give your mind a chance to get familiar with this new and shiny belief, because it could make a huge difference to your life. As always, I really hope this helps. If so, please like and share the video so others can find it. And finally, if you would like to take an epic adventure through a magical world in the name of personal growth, then you can download Betwixt, the mental health game, which is available on the iOS App Store and Google Play.